Hello and welcome back, one and all, to more Trails in the Sky. Last time left off, we were in Grand Soul Castle, but we're not there now because we've done over 100 battles now, which means we can now access this star door. Those who have proven themselves in battle are not worthy. Those who are not proven. Should you wish to be deemed worthy, struggle through 100 battles. Only then shall the door open. I can open the door. Let's go on inside. I shall grant you a memory fragment and my blessing. Ah, an easy moon door. That's great. Get ready for cutscene! Enclosed in the report on the damage dealt to the former Principality of North Ambra by the Salt Pillar. Also contained within is research on the Pale itself. Holy City of Artura, Congregation for the Sacraments. I hereby present this report to you, Your Holiness, ever at the side of the goddess. This report contains classified information and may only be read by those with the clearance to do so. Certain sections of the utmost secrecy have also been blacked out. Progression of events after Pale's appearance. July 1st, 5:45 a.m. An urgent report came in from Halias Cathedral in the then Principality, now Estate of North Ambra in northern Zamaria. It stated that a giant white pillar so tall it appears to kiss the clouds had appeared on the outskirts of the city. Bishop Alexei, the one who sent the report, behaved as if extremely unsettled by what was happening. By urgent order of the committee, 2 knights of the Grail Setter, the 8th Dominion aka the Roaring Lion and a squire, both of whom were working on another mission in a nearby nation, were dispatched to perform a formal investigation. They hurried to the scene via the 8th Merkabath unit. Please note, the Merkabaths had only recently been put into use at this point. They arrived promptly, and at 6:22 a.m. this is what they saw. Enclosed to the photograph, the object now known as the Salt Pail. At this point, however, it was far larger than the term pail would suggest. It is more akin to a massive tower that soared hundreds of argay into the air. The 2 knights proved the following observation regarding the situation on their arrival. We were met with the mighty hailstorm blowing in our direction from Heliask. Our sword appeared at first, till we eventually realized the storm contained not ice, but salt. The object's surface is completely covered with salt, making it impossible to tell what it may actually look like underneath. The surrounding air has become powdered salt, and it falls to the ground like snow falling on a tundra. The spread of that silicification process was startlingly rapid, and the affected area spread in the blink of an eye. By the time the Grail Set arrived, the entire landscape of the capital had turned to salt, and the lives of many who lived there, like the aforementioned Bishop Alexei, had already been lost. Yet, the spread did not stop there. A day after the Salt Pail first appeared, a vast forest zone north of the capital crystallized and collapsed. Bridges also collapsed, rendering all the main highways out of the city unusable. please note, by this point, the then ruler, Prince Belmund, had already fled the country to a nearby nation. 2 days passed since the Pale's appearance. By this point, roughly half of the entire principality had become a sea of salt. Countless refugees have fled to the southern side of the country because the river Gervin had stood between it and the affected area. Finally, 3 days after the Pale's appearance, the salinification process stopped at dawn. As a result, the knights were able to advance on the capital of Helios with the hope of investigating the salt pail. That afternoon, they finally reached it, but what they found looked completely different from how the pail had before when they first arrived in northern Umbria. The center of the silinificated area, they found an object that was 2.5 argy in height. The surface was no larger blanketed in salt. Rather, it looked as if something had been carved out of it. It is now believed that the Pale's mass decreased as salinification process progressed. In a smaller state, the Pale had lost its power to turn swaths of the country to salt, but its ability to salinify was still very much intact. Anything that touched it, even for a millisecond, was instantly turned into salt. It was of the utmost importance to handle it with care. In order to complete the mission without physical contact, the Grail Setter required use of the sacred tool Glopnir, which was delivered to them from the high seat in Arteria. Since then, it has been kept closely sealed away within the high seat in Arteria. Still, while the recovery mission was ultimately deemed a success, the damage already caused was equally vast and significant. No damage to the surrounding nations was reported, but it resulted in the destruction of 3 of the 5 administrative districts of the Principality, including its capital. Over a third of the total population, along with travelers from elsewhere, lost their lives. This is to say nothing of the emotional damage caused. Due to the sudden outbreak, the hearts of North Ambria's people were overwhelmed with fear and uncertainty. From a humiliation and a religious perspective, from a humanitarian and a religious perspective, a swift response from the Septian Church was all but necessary. The decision was made to dispatch personnel to the region right away, and upon arrival, they set about rebuilding the damaged churches and healing up both the physical and mental wounds of the people. Those who were left orphaned in a crisis were taken into gospel facilities where they would be cared for until adulthood. The northern region of the country, which had been turned into salt, was placed under the church's control. It has been a restricted area ever since. Supplementary notes. After some time, the country's former leader, Prince Belmar, attempted to rebuild the government, but given that he had fled the country during his hour of need, caring only for himself and not his people, all authority he once had was gone. The following year, the country's people led an armed uprising, and the Principality of North Umbria was no more. Eventually, elections were held, and the country became a democracy, thus bringing about the birth of the autonomous age we know of now. This is also when the former principality's armed forces reformed as a vigilante corps. Given the extreme poverty of the state, however, the majority of all said cops considered gathering foreign currency to be of the utmost importance. This is how the large-scale Jaeger Corps, known as the Northern Jaegers, was first established. As far as the rest of Zemuria is concerned, this is where the tale of the Salt Pail ends. But a number of very important questions still remain unanswered. Perhaps the most obvious is where it came from. Despite the considerable size of the object and that it appeared on the outskirts of a populated area, no information is available regarding the moment it first appeared. The most popular theory is that its appearance was due to something akin to a spatial translocation, but no hard evidence exists to support this or any other theory. Of more importance, however, is the positioning of the teachings of the Septine Church. The pale is clearly different in the nature of the artifacts. It appears to be more functional. Manifestation of the goddess powers of creation. With the limits of her knowledge at present, this is as far as we can get to the truth. There are some who have proposed it may be one of the Septarians, but no evidence has been found in legend or scripture to support this belief. Nonetheless, these questions and many others need answering, and that the Congregation for the Sacraments continues to study the salt pail to this day. The most accepted proposal comes from those who believe the pail should be seen as nothing more than a gift from Adios, and they continue to consider various means of her church to make good use of it. The most realistic of these plans is using it in the manufacture of a sacred tool used for execution. Parts of the pail are cut away using high pressure water and then surrounded with Gorilla Glue and made from salt crystal, allowing them to be fired directly into target without Should the bolt make successful contact with a human target, their whole body will turn to salt, killing them in mere seconds. There are no known means of reversing or stopping the process. This approach does not come without flaws. It seems unwise to be careless with an object that we still do not understand the true nature of. For one thing, there's also humanitarian concerns with exceeding someone in this matter. Still, it does bear mentioning that should there ever be a case where the target needs to be eliminated without fail, this would be the most surefire way to do it. It should go without saying that research on it is intended to continue into the future. Appendix regarding the aforementioned sacred tool. Trial use begins of the sacred tool. Top secret work only. Permission granted to use for the execution of fire from bowgun. Results are extremely favorable. No damage was caused to the surrounding area. The target was also successfully erased. About the target. The target was orphaned by the salt pail when it first appeared. A brief history is as follows. Joins the Septarian Church. Joins the Congregation for the Sacraments as an official. Promoted to bishop. Declared a heretic and excommunicated from the church. Side story. The salt pail. Finished. Yeah, I gotta petrify. And money. Alright, sorry about that. I really wanted to take on another door before we went to the final area of this area. It doesn't help that since we're almost done, I decided, hey, let's just run around this area for a bit. So, I'll see you all here next time.